Okay, it finally says live. So, hi! Is anybody there yet? I don't think anybody has shown up yet. There is a chat section if anybody's here that's new. There's a chat slash comment box that enables us to talk back and forth. We were going to do Google Hangouts tonight, but my guest is not available tonight, so it's just me. I'm sorry. I know it's probably really boring for you guys to just have me talking at you, but I will do the best that I can, I swear. And I'm hoping that there aren't any technical issues tonight because on Saturday there were issues with being able to be seen and heard because we had internet malfunctions. So, if you can see and hear me okay, please let me know. Good evening. I love having people in other countries watching. It's so cool. And I went to Staples today because today's apparently World Stationery Day or something like that. And I didn't get any stationery. But I got this. Check this out. Aw, yeah. Oh, glare. It's like a little whiteboard, except it's green. And it has all these magnets. And the eraser's a magnet. Like, how cool is that? And then the markers. Hang on it. See? See. I thought it was really cool, and I actually bought it for the express purpose of these webcasts. Because I'm kind of sick of using my gigantic Post-its that I have been using for notes and to show you guys stuff. So from now on, if I need to write something or draw something to show you, it's going to be on this thing. But I don't think that I'm going to need it today. But if we do another outlining video or something like that, then maybe I will have need to use it. Okay. Sorry, delay. I had somebody talking to me. Okay, so today's topic is style versus grammar. Yay! This was a requested topic from somebody named Emily, who I follow on Twitter. And she asked for this type of video. Specifically, she was talking about paragraphs, but I figured, why not just make a full video out of it? Now, to be honest, I took a few notes today, knowing that I would be doing this webcast tonight, and I really didn't write much down. Like, it's this. So, when it comes to style in particular, grammar's a little different, but when it comes to style in particular, there isn't much you can say about it without being overbearing, for lack of a better word. Style is something that really depends on the writer. And most writers have different styles than other writers. Some can be really similar. But especially when you get style and voice mixed together, it becomes some sort of freak hybrid that is specific only to you, which is a good thing. But it's also something I can't really teach. But I can show some of the differences in style and writing. I mean, not style and writing, style and grammar. So, sorry. Now, because the initial request was specifically about paragraphs, I went online and I got the dictionary definition of what a paragraph really is. And I think this is going to clear up a lot of confusion because, in definition, a paragraph is a self-contained unit of a discourse in writing dealing with a particular point or idea that has one or more sentences. That's it. So basically, a paragraph is a thing that has one, usually more than one, sentence / sentences that deals with a particular point or idea. That's literally it. That's the whole thing. So the style comes in when you have blocks of text, like one paragraph takes up the whole page that you're reading, and maybe some of the next page. You get a lot of that when you read things like epic fantasy. Like if you sit and read Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of that, particularly in the paperback versions because they're smaller. I think some sci-fi probably has some of that too. You know, just big blocks of text where it's a lot of world building, a lot of description. Generally speaking, a block like that is not going to be dialogue unless somebody is really rambling about something. But it's a stylistic preference because you'll also have people in all genres who will have really short paragraphs. Sometimes it's just constantly short. Maybe it's because they don't give a lot of detail because they want the reader to be able to envision what they're meaning, draw their own conclusions. Sometimes it's because there's a lot more dialogue than description, which is also a good thing. Personally, when I am reading, I do not enjoy seeing like 4 pages of nothing but gigantic paragraphs that I know is world building description. So personally, and I mean this is all opinion, but personally, I would rather see a good sized paragraph. I mean, I still really enjoy world building. I like learning about the environment and everything, especially if it's foreign. But break it up with dialogue or shorter paragraphs, because when I see long paragraph after long paragraph after long paragraph, I skip it. And you don't want to waste your time writing something that people are going to skip. And I know I'm not the only one who skips it, because I've asked around. It's not just me. And I feel really bad. You know, as a writer myself, I don't want to skip out on something somebody worked really hard to write. But at the same time, I don't want to be bored and zone out and just completely glaze over and not even be paying attention. That's not what I want. I want to be invested in the story. So there is style versus grammar on paragraphs. Yay! And, oh, hold on, something's flashing at me. What's the biggie between active and passive voice? Well, that is a stylistic preference, actually. And I wrote something. Yeah, okay, so the definition of style is not what I wrote down. I wrote down a definition of style that I found on a website where somebody else was actually writing about style versus grammar. And I really liked the way that he described this. He says that style to a writer is the set of preferences that aren't syntax rules. That's it. Style's all about preference, and I think most writers know that. There are a lot of things, though, that are taken as rules and not questioned at all when it comes to style. And I think they should be questioned a little bit. One of the things is avoid the passive voice at all costs. That is something that people say all the time. Constantly. Avoid the passive voice. Another one is show, don't tell. But there are examples for both of those things that go against those rules and worked out really well. It can be done. Personally, I say show, don't tell as well. Passive voice, it can be done well. It just depends. It's all a stylistic thing. I do think active voice is better, depending on what genre you're writing. But yeah, active and passive voice is preference. It's style. It's not a grammatical issue. I'm pretty sure I just made up a word. Anyway, other things that people take as rule when it's really not. Never end a sentence with a preposition. That's actually not a rule when it comes to grammar. It's just a preference. I also wrote down anything Microsoft Word says. If you're a writer and you're using Microsoft Word, please stop. Because you're just going to be driving yourself crazy with those green little squiggly lines, especially if you're writing something that is fictional. Because chances are you're making up names and places and words and who knows what else, and it's going to drive you bananas. And I can't even tell you how many times I've used Microsoft Word and something will pop up that says like a sentence fragment, consider revising. Well, maybe I don't want to. You don't control my life, Microsoft. So, step off. A lot of differences are also region-based when it comes to both grammar and style. Something that I've noticed quite a few times. The first time I remember thinking it was an editorial error. Quotation marks. In a lot of books that I both own and have read before, there are single quotes around dialogue, and that really threw me off because all through school and everything that I read until I was an adult has double quotes. And I write with double quotes as well, but a lot of people use just single quotes. Sometimes they use it as a constant, sometimes they use it to signify that somebody is speaking in somebody else's mind. Usually, in that context, the text inside the quotes would be italicized as well, but again, stylistic preference, it isn't always that way. And sorry, I had another question. What should I use? I assume you mean between active and passive voice. Use whatever you want. You're the writer. Do whatever you want. I can't tell you what to do. Whatever feels natural to you, go with it. Just make sure you're consistent. Don't switch halfway through. And let's see what else I had. Some rules of grammar just aren't important. That's true. A lot of grammar is more of a guideline, kind of like the Pirates Code in Pirates of the Caribbean. Some rules are obviously more important than other ones, but a lot of them, grammar was made up by, the rules of grammar was made up by linguists who are just basically saying, if you follow these rules, you will be most easily understood, essentially. But you can construct a sentence that follows the rules of grammar and is perfect, and even Microsoft Word won't underline a thing. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make sense. It could be a really fucked up sentence with words that nobody knows and nobody wants to know, and that's not very good writing. Depending on who your target audience is. Actually, no, it doesn't matter who your target audience is. If people can't understand your book, they're not going to want to read it or buy it. And that's kind of a problem, so you should probably avoid that. Oh, okay, I misunderstood the question. The question was what to use instead of Microsoft Word. There are so many choices. There are a lot. Scrivener is by far the most popular one that I've heard of. Scrivener also costs money. So last year when I did NaNoWriMo, I decided that I really wanted a writing program, but I really did not want to spend money. So I went to my best friend Google and searched for different programs, and the one that I use is called Quoll, or Quoll, something. It's Quoll, and it is fantastic. It's free. It lets you do so many things. You track word count, you track your tendencies, how many words you write on average, how many you've written total, how many you've written for that session. It tracks your chapters, it breaks them all up, it does character relations. Like, if you have a name of a character, you can search by that name, see every chapter they appear in and where, and just, it's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. And at this point, I'm a little better off than I was back then, so I would probably pay for it now. And I've been tempted to test Scrivener, but I don't need to, so I'm not going to. But if you're looking for a writing program, ask around, ask your friends, because there are a lot out there other than just those two. I just haven't personally tried them at all, or heard anything about them. So, and yeah, I didn't write down anything else because I knew this video was going to be more question-based. Because like I said before, you can't really define style and give people style pointers. The biggest thing about style is just to be consistent and make sure you're still being understood. That's really it. So, sorry, I'm dying. Oh, Twitter question. I had somebody ask the other day, I guess they were watching the live stream and they didn't comment or anything, but they wanted to know how to join Antagonists Anonymous, and I had never been asked that before. So I said I would explain today on the live stream. So I started Antagonists Anonymous kind of as a joke, and it just kept going. But the idea behind it is a group of writers on Twitter who support each other, essentially. And I chose antagonists because we all antagonize the characters that we're writing about. It's who we are. We have a team drive account where you can drop off things that you've written and get feedback on. We'll read it for you, we'll beta for you. And if you would like to join, just tag me if I'm not following you. Or if I am following you and you're following me, just DM me, let me know, and I'm going to be starting a big group chat that has everybody who wants it in it. And that's really it. It's free. It's not like some sort of exclusive club or anything. Like, you don't have to... There's no initiation ritual. There probably should be. I'll have to think more on that. But as of right now, there isn't. So if you want to get in without being tortured, do it now. And that's it. I don't have anything else to say. Sorry. Does anybody have any questions? It doesn't have to be about style and grammar. It could be about anything writing related or not writing related. I don't really care. Whatever you guys want to ask. Talk more? Woo. I don't have anything to talk about. I really don't. Like, Saturday, I am probably going to be doing an Ask Me Anything video / live stream, webcast, whatever, because it almost won. It almost beat Style versus Grammar for tonight. So that will probably be the topic for Saturday. So if you have any questions, whether it's writing related, personal, whatever, just either tag me in a tweet on Twitter or DM me. I don't know, whatever. Let me know somehow so that I can get a list going. Who is your favorite antagonist? Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. I have a deep, obsessive love for villains and antagonists. So picking just one. Off the top of my head, and this would probably change, like, if you ask me in an hour or tomorrow, it'd probably be a different answer every time, but for right now, the first one that I thought of is Scar from The Lion King. And I really like him because he is completely unapologetic about being a dick, but he's also extremely intelligent. And that's really apparent in the way that he speaks to other people, and he's also really narcissistic, but I like him. He's intelligent, and he's trying to just go get what he wants. Zero fucks given. I should probably stop swearing so much. I swear a lot in these live streams. I'm really sorry. What qualities do you love in an antagonist? Oh, I love them. I really like antagonists who are direct about what they want. I'm not really a fan of the subtle, sneaky sort of villains. I mean, they're okay, they have their place, but I'd rather have somebody who is flashy and in your face and just, this is what I want and I'm gonna get it, and the end. You know, I like somebody who has a really great personality. You know, maybe they're not nice, but you don't have to be super nice and kind and generous to have a great personality. Just a really well-rounded character. I also think it's great if they have more than one desire. I mean, if you have an antagonist and it's like, they want to blow up the city. Well, why? Like, is there a reason? Do they want anything else? Why do they hate the city so much? What happened? Were they always a jerk? Or, you know, have backstory. I want to know everything. I would rather have a story focused entirely on a villain than a hero. So, that's just me, though. That seems to be a minority, judging by the books that are selling lately. Does anybody else have any questions? Oh, Emily's here. Hi, Emily! Emily is the one who requested this video originally. So, yay! Unfortunately, I already talked about paragraphs a little bit. And this is being recorded, so it will be uploaded so that you can watch it and hear what I said. But basically, when it came to paragraphs, all I was saying is that as long as you are following the definition of a paragraph and having a subject that is contained in one or more sentences, then you officially have a paragraph as far as grammar is concerned. Everything else is style. So, yeah. And I mean, I said a few things about grammar, but not much, because honestly, grammar, I don't want to say grammar isn't important. I love grammar. Grammar is important, but it's not as important as a lot of people think it is. So, hi! Sorry, there's a delay between when I'm talking and when I'm looking at the chat box because I'm a terrible person and I have a lot of tabs open and sorry. So, does anybody have any questions? It can be about grammar, it can be about style, it can be about anything to do with writing. Or reading. I don't know. Just ask me questions. Because I have nothing else planned to say. I spit out my page worth of notes, and it's been 25 minutes, and I have nothing else. I'm really useless without a guest. Normally there's more than one of me. Well, not more than one of me, but normally there's me and then somebody else, and there's not tonight, and I'm terrible. What do we think of the one-sentence paragraph? I did briefly mention this, but all that I really said was it's a stylistic thing. Personally, I have a lot of one-sentence paragraphs in my writing. I wouldn't say more so than any other type of paragraph. My paragraphs, on average, 10 sentences or less. I don't make big long ones. I break them up with dialogue, or I just break them because they're getting too long. I want to maintain reader interest, and I don't want the reader to look at a page and just be like, ugh, really? You want me to read all that? Nope, skipping until I see the next set of quotation marks. Because I have done that while reading. So I try not to make my readers want to do that. One-sentence paragraphs are fantastic, but they're not as rare as you would think. I think most books that you pick up have at least a dozen one-sentence paragraphs because they move the story along, just like go, 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 and then you have a book. How do you feel about dialogue within the paragraph? No. Don't do this. Please don't do this. That's one of the things that actually makes me really absurdly angry. And, okay, it depends. If the paragraph starts off with a dialogue, then by all means, have a bit of dialogue and then like a bit of description about what they're doing, and then finish it off with the rest of what they're saying before the other person responds. That's fine. But if you have a paragraph that starts off describing the room and then smack dab in the middle of it somebody starts talking, I'm probably going to throw your book across the room. And I am almost 100% sure that that is a grammar issue. Dialogue should start a new paragraph every time. Every time. And when you switch people, you should not have a paragraph that has character A is speaking, and that's how it starts, and then in the middle of the paragraph, character B is speaking. You're going to confuse readers, you're going to make them angry, and your editor is not going to let it fly. So just don't do it. Don't do it! That's my opinion. So, yeah. Yep. Some of the coolest styles I've seen. I really enjoy writing styles that are drastically different than most of the other things that I've read. The first thing that comes to mind, because this is a book we were discussing in the previous webcast, is A Million Little Pieces by James Frey, I think is his last name. The book got a lot of attention a few years ago. It was like on Oprah's book list, and then it came out that it wasn't a true story or a 100% true story, and Oprah got all angry and whatever. It's a great book. I mean, it's odd. It's really odd to read. The writing style is really strange. And I really enjoyed it because it was different. And that's the kind of thing that I like to go for, is if something is different, then it'll catch my attention. The most recent book that I read is called Never Home by Laird Hunt, and the style is great. It's a first-person point of view, and it's the point of view of a female during the Civil War. I won't give away more than that, but it is fantastic. The style was great. The tone of the book was super. So yeah, those are the first two that come to mind, and I actually mentioned both of them in the last live stream, so... I am number 4. I've heard of that. Wasn't that made into a movie? I don't know. I had never heard of the author before. I picked it up, honestly, because the cover looked great, and then the summary of the book sounded good, so I bought it. A narration line, and then... What? Emily, I don't understand what you mean. Which is probably my mistake. I'm probably just not getting it. I'm probably reading it incorrectly, but I don't understand your question. I'm sorry. Can you reword it? I'll move on to the next question while you attempt to rephrase that in a way I'll get. What's your understanding of show don't tell? My understanding is that it's great. Show don't tell, for those of you who don't know, is one of the biggest rules that suggestions that you will hear as a writer. Show don't tell, I think, is extremely important, because if you have something like, here's an example, caution, I'm going to swear. Okay, so you have, in quotes, I can't believe you fucking did that. Exclamation mark, end quote, and then have he yelled angrily. I'm pretty sure by the time you get to he yelled, you probably know he's angry. You don't need to tell the reader that he's angry. That's pretty obvious. You could just say he yelled. You could even say he said. I mean, the exclamation mark and the fact that he's cursing is probably going to give your reader a pretty good idea that he's a bit angry. I think that there are times when telling instead of showing is necessary, but I think they are few and far between, and your best bet is to go with showing and not telling. It's a little more difficult sometimes, but it flexes your writer muscles. Yeah. So that's a good thing. Okay. When a paragraph starts with a sentence of a character's narration about an observation, thought, feeling, impulse, whatever it is, then another sentence. Okay, I get it now. The first sentence part was what was throwing me off before. Personally, I still would not do that. Even though it's all coming from the same character, I always will put the dialogue first, and then follow up with their, like, internal thoughts or feelings or anything like that. If they're having a lot of thoughts and feelings before they speak, it's a separate paragraph. I will put it in the previous paragraph and then tab over, indent time, new paragraph starts with dialogue. Every time. Does that answer the question? Did I understand it correctly that time? I wouldn't say dialogue is always a standalone paragraph, but dialogue always begins a new paragraph if it is not the second time that a character is speaking uninterrupted. Yes. I mean, I do have times when dialogue is a standalone paragraph and you just get a line or several from one character and that's it. That's the paragraph. And then next paragraph starts as somebody responds or as people react to what's being said or don't react, as the case may be. Who knows? But yes, dialogue is always at the beginning of the paragraph unless okay, well, it still would be at the beginning of the paragraph. I was going to say unless it's the second thing that they're saying without being interrupted or responded to, but they would still start out with the first thing they said and then, like, I'm going to get some water, Mary said. She took the bucket, went down to the creek, filled it up with water, and came back. Wow, this is really cold. So that's one paragraph. She said something, she did something, and then she said something else. And because nobody else spoke after she said the first thing, then the second thing she said can still be in the same paragraph. Also, my laptop sucks. So if you hear something that sounds like it's about to take off in outer space, that's just my laptop trying to use a fan. It's awful. Okay, would you write a book solely about the villain? Would he eventually become an anti-hero, stays the villain? How would that story arc go? I actually have a work in progress that is a collection of short stories entirely about villains. It'll probably never see the light of day because it's something that I work on when my other works in progress are stressing me out immensely. But they are basically retellings of Disney villain stories. And they are completely out there. Like, Ursula is a fashionista in New York City. Like, think Devil Wears Prada type of, you know. So, yes, I would definitely write a story that is entirely focused on the villain. I actually have a novel idea. I haven't started it or anything. But I have a novel idea that is like that. And I think it's entirely possible because everybody views themselves as the protagonist of their own story. You know, villains don't sit there and think, man, I am the scum of the earth. Okay, some might. But most of the time, villains don't think that they're bad people. They're just different than everybody else. So, absolutely. How would the story arc go? Depends what the plot is. So, yeah, absolutely. I would totally focus a book on a villain. I think that's awesome. I just love villains. Villains are so great. Two main characters antagonize each other. That's awesome. Was it Saturday's live stream? I think. I don't remember. I've started to lose track of what's going on. To be honest. But I'm pretty sure it was either Saturday or last Wednesday. Anyway, I was talking about subplots and counterplots and all that good stuff. But I think it is really cool when you have two main characters, like your main, and then a secondary character, and your secondary character initially has the same plot, same goal as your main character, but then something happens and maybe they're like worried for the main character's safety or whatever. But for some reason, your secondary character deviates a little bit and they start butting heads with the main character. And even though they're not the villain, they're still really antagonistic and going against what the main character wants. And it's just like fighting, rah, 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 death, and yeah. I'm a terrible person. Why do my smiley faces look like smushed Pac-Man ghosts? Because that's what YouTube smiley faces look like. That's the only answer I have for that. I don't control the smiley faces, I'm sorry. Do we have any more questions? Maybe? Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Now I really want to go watch it. I love that movie for several reasons. Like, I love all the actors in it, but the story is just so great, and you are so on the side of the villain for several reasons. I mean, granted, the hero is a dick, but just a lovable villain is not as hard to create as people think. And he did have redeeming qualities, but even villains that don't, they're still super great and lovable. Everybody just needs a hug. Sorry. Still getting over this cough. It just won't leave. Everything else has left, but not the cough. Any other questions? It doesn't have to be about style and grammar. It can be about anything. I don't even care. You can ask me a favorite color. Actually, no. Save that for Saturday for the Ask Me Anything. Are there any grammar rules that should never be sacrificed for style? Probably. I mean, yes, there are. Which ones are they? I don't really know, because to be honest, I don't have every grammar rule sitting in front of me right now. The only thing that really comes to mind are also stylistic things. So my advice would be to go on Google and search for style versus grammar, because I did when I was making notes for this webcast today, and there's a lot out there. This is something that has been discussed more than once. There are writers out there, there are professors out there who have written things about this. Definitely don't sacrifice spelling for the sake of style. Just don't do it. Unless you are writing somebody with a really heavy accent and you need like a lot of apostrophes in there and to really make it obvious. But that can also get a little annoying to read. So it's all a matter of preference. It really is. I mean, there are some things that really shouldn't be sacrificed, but to be honest, I can't think of what they are. So if I do, I'll let you guys know at some point. But I have a very specific way that I write things. I have a specific style. I'm not really sure if I have a voice just yet, or at least not one that can be picked up on. I'm not really sure about that. But I know that I do have a very defined style. And my way of writing is not something that's probably going to change. I mean, it may evolve a little bit as I write more and more, but I've already been writing for a very long time, and I've been writing in the same way for a really long time, and I'm really comfortable with it, and in my opinion, I'm fairly decent at writing the way that I do. But I'm also highly aware of my weaknesses. Like, for example, I write in third person limited for point of view. And if you ask me to write a first person point of view anything, I would fail miserably. I'm really bad at it. And I also write in past tense, not present tense. So, you know, it's all a matter of what feels natural to you. And I think I went way off topic with that. I'm sorry. My mind is everywhere right now, evidently. Too much caffeine. Can't be trusted. I don't know. Present tense gives me hives. Me too! Okay, I don't mind reading it, but writing it just, I'm so bad at it. Self-publishing versus traditional. I am not going to really answer that question because that is actually going to be a live stream topic. And we are going to have guests, and it's going to be basically a big pro-con debate. Personally, I plan on doing a hybrid plan for myself, but I will discuss that later. As in not today. Sorry, the computer keeps moving. It's like slowly sliding toward me. I'm on a laptop right now. So. But yeah, I'm sorry. Not answering the publishing question just yet. But we will be doing that webcast soon. So. Just working out dates for guests and things like that. That'll be a good one. Yes. Anybody else have questions? Semicolons, love or evil. I love them when they are used correctly. I do not use them often. But I have the potential to love them when people use them as they are supposed to. I'll say that much. But I also think semicolons are often used incorrectly. And sometimes it manages to get past the editor, and then it's still in the book, and if you don't know how to properly use a semicolon, don't use it. That's the rule of thumb people should be going by. Been using them a lot lately and it's starting to bug me. Well, I use ellipses too much, so I think every writer has tendencies, and it's okay to overuse something by the bucketful for your first draft. Just keep it in mind when you go through and edit. Be on the lookout for it, especially once you finish your first draft. Depending on what program you're using, you can type in a word or a semicolon or whatever that you know that you tend to overuse, and it'll show you every time that you use that. And if you have like 20,000 semicolons in a 90,000 word manuscript, you have a problem and you need to address it immediately. Hello, new viewers. We just had a couple new people pop in. Hi. If you want to ask questions, you can too. Dogs barking outside. Are we out of questions? If we are, that's okay. We have been up for almost an hour, so if there are no more questions or anything, we can end the webcast. And then we can... What made you decide to do these videos? I'm a horribly narcissistic person with deep-rooted needs for public affection. No, I actually started doing them because I had somebody ask me to. And the request came after we first started doing Antagonists Anonymous. Originally, we were doing basically like a video hangout on Spreecast, and there was not a topic or anything. It was just talking about writing and talking about a lot of things that didn't have to do with writing and some really odd topics of conversation. Things got weird, but we decided to move to YouTube instead, because on Spreecast you have to pay money in order for your videos to not disappear after a certain amount of time. I believe it's like 3 days. So we wanted to move somewhere where the videos would stay so that people could watch them who weren't there. And then to be more organized, we started using topics. And that's why I post polls for topics, because I want to do things that people are interested in seeing and hearing about. Which is why I also posted the question, if you could see a video on anything, what would it be? And that's where this suggestion came from, the style versus grammar. It was requested by Emily, actually. So, I mean, basically, I do these because people seem to be responding well to it. It seems to be something people want. And when it gets to the point that people don't want to watch these anymore, then I'll stop making them. I will say this weekend I'm going to be doing a couple of shorter videos, because I know not everybody wants to take 1, 2, or 3 hours and watch a live stream that was recorded and they can't participate in. So I will be doing shorter ones, and I have a list in my notebook of topics people requested for short videos. So if you guys have anything that you would like to see, just let me know and I'll add it to the list if it's not there already. Because I do have quite a few, but I will always take more suggestions. And Twitter question. What is your preference to word count? I don't really have a word count preference, really. I mean, as far as finished manuscripts, when it's done for me. As far as word count goals, for say, if I sit down, I usually shoot for at least 1,000 words. During NaNoWriMo, I shoot for 5,000 a day, at least once a week. So, when I sit down to write, I take a big chunk of time and I just pound out at least a chapter, preferably. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that's my goal, is to write at least a chapter when I sit down. Oh, I think we got another Twitter question. What is your favorite book? Well, I have said this before, but I'll say it again. My favorite book is The Gilded Chain by Dave Duncan. And it's amazing, and if you haven't read it, you should. Oh, good night! Thanks for joining! You should join us on Saturday, too. Which will be at 2 in the afternoon your time. Boop, 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 boop. Bye! And I don't have any more Twitter questions. So I think we're coming up on 57 minutes. So I think we're going to cap it off at an hour unless somebody has a good question. Are we good? Yes? No? Maybe? Yes, it was a good chat. I had a good time. And it's awesome because both of you, as far as I know, haven't watched before, or at least haven't participated before, and it's so nice to have new people. So, yay! My hope is that as this keeps going and as we have more guests, we will have higher attendance, because I think if we could get 5 or even 10 people in the chat speaking to each other, I think it'd be a lot more fun for people who are watching. And it would be better for me too, because I wouldn't just be talking to myself. No, I'm glad you fixed your technical issues. Okay, well, I think we're done. So, thank you for coming, and to anybody who watches this later, I hope it was informative, and if you haven't already, you should totally subscribe to our channel, because when we hit 100 subscribers, we get to customize our URL so it won't be so hugely long anymore, and we get to add channel art and stuff, and yay! And yeah, so subscribe and follow me on Twitter so that you can tell me awesome things, and yeah, that's it. I have nothing else to say. So, alright. Have a good night, and I will see you guys on Saturday morning. Bye!